and the CDC didn't do enough to help the hospital adequately prepare for an Ebola outbreak. That is in stark difference to what the leader of Texas, as he probably want to call himself, Texas Perry, would say. He was in control of the situation. He was there with the director of the Texas healthcare system, and then he flew off to Europe. Now he's back, but he didn't handle anything. And that's one of the problems about these right-wingers. They talk a good game, but when it comes to handling something, they do not. And the big problem is the healthcare system in Texas is what it is. It is subpar. We've used that word many times. With roughly 60% of Latinos do not have health care. Period. And the refusal of Texas Perry to bring a Medicare into the mix. That's an unfortunate situation, but the Ebola and things to come will force the U.S. to go to a modern healthcare system, which is the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare. They will need it more. It doesn't matter what the Republicans do. They could dismantle this, they could dismantle that. But with a healthcare system increasingly under strain from these various viruses, whether it be SARS, whatever, that come in, they will need to spend more money. They will need to modernize, which will mean they will have to further nationalize their healthcare system. Just sheer costs. They will be buried under the cost. That's an economic factor there. Now, the outsourcing of the ER is something that they need to rethink, and rethink fast. This continual outsourcing of things has gummed up the work. And this is what the right wing always talks about, bringing in quote-unquote free enterprise. Well, free enterprise is another example of the Presbyterian Texas Hospital. Free enterprise at its best, or we would say this worse. Potentially infected staff are being told to stay home during a 21-day period under a Dallas County agreement. One step from being a mandatory quarantine. Well, it is effectively that. For non-salary independent contracts, including doctors and nurses, missed work probably means missed pay. Well, there they go. Presbyterian has long been known as one of the region's most prestigious hospitals. Not anymore. Some of Dallas's most notable physicians practice there, and in 2013 the hospital treated former President G.W. Bush for an artery blockage. I don't think G.W. would want to go there again. The sprawling medical center includes the Margot Perot Center for Women and Infants, named after the wife of H. Ross Perot. Hospital first sailed they're using the ship of state in 1966. A 300-bed facility near a couple of farms at the edge of the city. Today it is surrounded by dense residential and commercial development in North Dallas. Is a flagship of Texas Resources, one of the largest not-for-profit medical providers in the state. With 900 beds, it accounts we already said that, $600 million there in revenue. Each year, about 7,500 people arrive there. Either unannounced, as Duncan did on the 25th, or by medical transport, as he did there on October 8th. He would be dead in the coming weeks. 2 nurses would be out there. I mean, this is a very sad story. The Presbyterian's ER, the rest of the story is even less known. The signs all say Presbyterian, but Presbyterian doesn't run it. The entire department is outsourced to independent contractor. The contractor is based in Fort Worth, Texas. The Emergency Medical Consultants Limited serves hospitals on the name of its medical practice. The Texas Resource Research LLP uses the website mdocs.com. Texas Health did not respond. Obviously, did not respond, but they will be responding. As the lawsuits come, the emergency medical consultants run emergency departments for 13 hospitals in Texas. There are 3 in North Texas, Methodist System, and 1 public hospital in Hunt County, Texas. They serve a combination of 763,500 patients a year. That's what the company's website says. And let's see, a comparison of clients find that the 2 fail to beat state or federal averages in any category of emergency care quality. The Texas Presbyterian and Methodist Chariton in southwest Dallas bettered their figures in just 1 category and 5 others. They were the worst based upon the last report to the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services. They rank, 78th for safety among Texas' busiest 100 hospitals. So that tells you the story of this operation for people that want to blame Mr. Duncan. That is misplaced. The hospital clinic where 1 cardiologist works, patient volume is down 60 to 70% since the nurse obviously got sick there. That's fainted. Nearly empty ER. Well, who would go there? The problem is going to be there, more Ebola diagnosis, and downhill they go. Parking booth cashier Janina Ray estimates 40% fall in traffic. So now they're getting the parking attendant in there. It's really surprised how many good people are considering one of their families affected. Somebody's trophy club. Anyway, whether they're at the trophy club and not at the trophy club. And that's the story of this Texas operation and where it is. And for some people that say the U.S. has the best health care in the world, I would say go to the story in the Dallas Morning News, and you will read about what it actually is. It's one thing to talk about things, but it's another thing to know what the actual facts are, and we're just beginning to get the facts in. And as we get more of quote-unquote facts, not anecdotal information, but actual facts, the worse the story is turning. This thing is going south, if you pardon the pun. Let's now go to our episode title here. We'll just start here. Texas keeps its voter ID law. A divided Supreme Court that was early Saturday morning let the Texas voter ID law go. Someone on Facebook suggested that President Obama would call martial law to cancel elections, or maybe the election. I'm not sure which one of these people were talking about. But because the elections have been so corrupted by the infamous right-wing Koch brothers, it's beyond the pale, as one would say, Flut Lunum, you name it, and that's the end of it right there for these so-called elections. Because billions of dollars are meant to misinform people, to get right-wing nuts out to vote for candidates, many not in their own interests. Go to numbers, man. We did a program and we talked about equality of opportunity, etc., in the workplace, and that was a topic of a seminar given at the Boston Fed, and the chair, Dr. Yellen, was there. Nonetheless, Ruth Bader Ginsburg issued a 6-page dissent saying the court's action risks denying the right to vote to hundreds of thousands of eligible voters. That's the Texas law, one of the most stringent ones in the country under the administration of the racist Texas Perry and his rock, a known racist, and has the audacity to say he's running for president. He's not running for nothing. Anyway, nonetheless, Sotomayor and Elaine Kagan joined the dissent. The court's order was an interim move addressing an emergency application filed on Wednesday. A trial judge ruling struck it down. The law will be appealed, but the Supreme Court's action set the ground rules for the current election. Early voting starts on a Monday. tomorrow. The court's ruling issued the order as soon as Ginsburg finished her dissent. That's the usual situation on emergency stays. The law enacted in 2011 required voters seeking to cast their ballots at the poll to present photo identification like a Texas driver's license, a gun license, a military ID, or a passport. And if you don't, you're disenfranchised. This is nothing more than an attempt by the racist governor, Texas Perry, to reinstate a poll tax in the state of Texas. Justice Ginsburg went on to say may prevent more than 600,000 registered voters in Texas, about 4.5% of registered voters, from voting for Wendy Davis. A sharply disappropriate percentage of those voters are African American or Hispanic, she said. No doubt about that. We know where the racist numbers go. Texas officials quarreled with the math there. Well, there's no quarrel there. We don't believe anything that Texas Perry puts out there. Also said the law replaces the previous existing vote identification requirements with the strictest regime in the country. She noted that Texas would not accept systems of several forms of ID. Wisconsin did, including a photo ID from an in-state four-year college. That's to disenfranchise young people, again a population that would be prone to vote for Wendy Davis. One from a federally recognized Indian tribe, more racism there. The Supreme Court on the 9th refused to let the Wisconsin law use their voter ID law in Wisconsin. Texas, who likes a required form of identification, cannot be easily obtained. More than 400,000 eligible voters face round-trip 3 or 4 hours to try to find that. The nearest government issuing ID station, the cost for an original birth certificate in the state of Texas, and no doubt it's probably subcontracted too, is $22. The state offers cheap ones costing from $2 to $3 for election purposes, she wrote, but it's not publicized. It's too late now, but now you know you can get a $2 birth certificate there, so prepare for the 2000 election. Start now going to find one. The Texas law was the first blocked on Section 5 of the Voting Rights Act, which Texas Perry and his racist associates, Republicans in Congress, gutted. After the Supreme Court actually ruled, sorry about that, in 2013, effectively struck down Section 5. That was in an Alabama case, and we all know what Alabama is about. Wheelchair Wallace is in charge there. Wheelchair Abbott is in charge in Texas, and he's the one that appealed this. Now, this is 2 weeks after Neva Gomez Ramos, a district judge in Corpus Christi, struck down the law in a 147-page opinion. On Tuesday, a three-judge panel, that's the Fifth Circuit, who sits in New Orleans, stayed Ramos' injunction. It said a change in voting rules so close to the election would cause confusion amongst voters and poll workers. The law has been used in several state elections since the Shelby counties in Alabama, but never in a federal election, and should not be used in a federal election, period. We'll now go to Judge Posner. Second here. Judge Posner, who sits in Chicago, the Seventh Circuit. This is in the salon, but I actually read the opinion itself. If you read, and this is originally appeared on Brad's blog, one of the top to bottom dismantling of every supported premise in support of disenfranchising voter ID restrictions laws is your lifeline there. A dissent released Saturday. This is by Judge Richard-Posner. He was appointed by none other than Ronald-Reagan to the Seventh Circuit, which sits in Chicago, who was the man who approved the first such voter ID law in the country. Now, that was in the state of Indiana back in 2008, the landmark Crawford versus